going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I am acting as deputy mayor tonight in the absence of the mayor. So first item on the agenda is approving the agenda. Anything people need to change?
Did you you're going to pull out the tree steward program? Bridget?
Yes, we'd like to pull out C, update on tree steward program under city business, to remove that from the meeting tonight.
And it will be introduced at some point in time.
For later, right?
Yes, right, but they
Okay.
just aren't ready to support it yet.
Okay, and then I have a few items on the consent agenda I'd like to move up into city business to get more info on before approving them personally. So I was hoping to discuss A, D, E, and F, which is Treasury Report, empowering parks with dock fee authority, city credit card implementation, and additional office equipment needs that I would like to pull up into city business to discuss. Any other changes?
Could I just have 1 second? I want to make sure you got all the ones I was worried about. I would like to pull out J, Ty Schmidt rental agreement, please.
Absolutely. Okay. You said that Therese was planning on being here, right, Alan? You are.
There she is.
There you are.
You can sit up front. We have a
Come
spot
hang
for
up
you.
here.
That's okay if you don't want to.
Okay. Okay. I did have questions about one item, but we'll discuss that when we get there. Any other changes to the agenda? Otherwise, we'll proceed.
Move to adopt the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next item is open public forum. So do we have any people here ready to speak? See Barton? You want to come up to the mic?
Oops.
Barton Winter, 15 Oaks Lane. And I did speak with Kathy about my intent to purchase 2 new nets for the hockey rink down there. And the reason being, the nets are degrading, the net bags. And the mayor and I did review that, and she was down there, and she indicated to me that that was something she thought should be done. So the issue is we have to purchase not only the net bags, the nylon webbing, but also the frames. So that is something that I sent to all 4 council members, and the total is approximately around $500, and I want to pay for half of that. So that's what I was hoping would be a possibility for an agenda item tonight. And I don't know if it's possible or not, but I did send emails to all 4 of you. So anyway, okay, and then another thing is the opening on the Parks and Natural Resources Committee. I did send a letter to Kathy, which is in her email, and indicating why, and I talked to Therese, and she said I should send a letter. So I did send that. And also I want to talk about, just a little bit of communication issues that I've had throughout the wintertime, trying to communicate with council members about the rink and not getting very much feedback and delayed feedback. So I'm not happy with that. And also at the last Parks Committee meeting, I was asked to commentate on the proposed rules for the rink, including flooding. One of the categories was flooding. And basically, Alan had rewritten the rules for the rink, and when I started to present my information, they did not allow me to present the information that I have, which according to the bylaws in the Parks Committee, that is, maintenance is also one of the categories that the Parks Committee considers. So, I'm very unhappy with that, in fact, Mary Sue Simmons was giving me some feedback that I was out of order when I felt like I wasn't allowed to present my information. So, I hope the communication improves, and, I am trying to work with the mayor on the rink, and I know that's, we're waiting for next year, but, hopefully, the council is supposed to respond, and that's why we have council members and not just like the mayor, but, if I submit something
All
and,
right, can you wrap up, Barton?
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else for the public forum? No, okay. Going to close the public forum. There you go.
The iron gavel.
Very dramatic.
Don't break it.
Not- a little softer next time? All right, cool. All right, then we have announcements. Teresa, are you making the announcements, or you want me to read them?
You may read them.
Okay. Announcements, we have Lake Links Task Force meeting is on Thursday, March 14th at 7 PM. That's at City Hall, correct? Okay. City Council will be holding a workshop on March 31st at 6:45 PM. That would also be here at the City Hall. There is a seat available in our Parks and Natural Resources Committee. We'd like people to submit letters of intent, I guess, to potentially interest, thank you, to join that committee, so we can decide on that for next month. Any other announcements that we have from the council's teams? All right, that concludes all of the announcements. Going to city business variance reviews. We have 2 up. So first one is 131 Wildwood Avenue. That starts on page 4 of your packet.
Do you
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that one?
think it would be better to let Ben introduce it?
Ben, you want to
And
introduce it?
then,
Okay.
unless Len wants to, but maybe just let Ben, okay.
Good evening, Acting Mayor, Council, thank you. This is a handful of variances for 131 Wildwood Avenue. Some of them sort of fall under the same umbrella as each because this was a small cabin type thing, non-conforming in a lot of ways. And they are replacing with a typical larger single-family home. So the variances that, we did a wonderful application and a lot of detail in there. I'm sure you have it in your packet. The variances that are officially being sought, we've listed, and it's in my staff report, kind of letters A through F at the top. Number 1, it's an undersized lot. The minimum is 15,000 square feet for riparian lots, and this is just under 8,000 or 7,590, I think. The garage and east side side yard setback of 5 feet rather than 10 feet, and the setback from the road of 16 feet rather than 30. This was a legally non-conforming structure with 0 feet of setback, and so they're improving the situation. It's just that they don't meet the code. So in order to replace a non-conforming structure, it has to be in the same spot. Well, in this case, they're replacing, but they're moving it into a better spot. It just doesn't meet the ordinance setbacks. The house has a west side setback proposed of 8.5 feet rather than 10. This was a little bit of a discussion at the Planning Commission level because they do have 20 feet of total setback. They have 11.5 on one side and 8.5 on the other. So it could meet each of the 10 feet with the house size proposed. Keep in mind, there was an existing 8.5 foot setback on that side. So they're not increasing that. It's just the house used to sit a little bit at an angle, so that was just the closest point. This would utilize that setback of 8.5 for that whole stretch. In applying for these variances, there's that there's that test of practical difficulty. Is it reasonable, does it alter the character of the neighborhood? And then was it something that they are doing that is causing the need for this variance? The planning commission, I believe there was only 3 members there, and one of them motioned to deny the 8.5 feet and just have it 10 feet and 10 feet. That motion died for lack of a second, and then it passed 2-1 to allow this 8.5-foot setback on that side. The reasoning for it, from their perspective, in moving that garage into a better spot and using the fact that this is a 50-foot lot, so that's sort of is it a situation that wasn't created by them? Well, an 80-foot lot width is typical, or is required for new lots now. This is a 50-foot lot. But the reasoning being, if you move that garage back and you're dealing with a 50-foot lot, 10 feet on each side, that it really obscures their front entry in the house design. So they just wanted to keep that garage a little bit further away and keep that house off of that side of the property line an extra 1.5 feet, or make it a 1.5 feet closer. There's also a walkway to the lake from there, kind of between the front of the lot or the street and the garage to walk on that side of the house, and they have some egress windows on that side of the house. So they'd like the 8.5 and 11.5 on the other side. There are certainly a number of non-conforming side yard setbacks all over that stretch of the lake. And with a 50-foot lot, the 2 commissioners who approved or voted to approve it saw that it wouldn't alter the character and it was a reasonable request. And considering it's a 50-foot lot, they thought that was okay. So it's certainly a rather subjective interpretation, but if you weigh all of the factors for findings for approval of a variance, it can be argued that it meets all of those. So that one passed by a 2-1 vote. I should have mentioned all the other ones passed by a 3-0 vote, or passed a recommendation for approval. The letter E, the house height of greater than what was there, I guess we will say, because it was a legally non-conforming structure, a higher house than was allowed would be considered an expansion of that. There's still, the variance is not necessary because they won't go above the ordinance maximum. It's just the fact that it's an expansion of what was there. The replacement is higher than the cabin that was there.
The cabin is gone now, right?
Cabin is gone, yep. And then the F is the retaining walls requested within 50 feet of the ordinary high water setback. They have a few retaining walls, kind of a tiered system, nothing over 4 feet. So they're smaller walls, but it's just the way to control that shoreline and that slope. And they have applied or will be applying for a permit to have impervious between 25 and 30%. They won't exceed 30, so they won't need a variance. That's not included here. But if they stay between 25 and 30, there's a lot of calculations they need to do and submit the site plan and everything for review of Marcus's review and mine somewhat. So they're pretty confident they'll be within that window, but they do need a variance for the location of probably some of those shorter walls. They'll be within the 50-foot ordinary high water setback. So like I said, all those were recommended for approval, and the west side setback of 8.5 feet rather than 10 was the one that had discussion. Everything else, the planning commission was very much in favor of this and thinks it'll be a great addition to the neighborhood. And like I said, they turned in a great application, and we've spent a lot of time. We've met a couple times with them, and have talked to Len quite a bit. So they've done their due diligence and prepared a nice plan, and it was received favorably by the planning commission, and they recommended approval of all of these. And if you have any questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, Len and Joe, the applicant, are here. But I'll be right here for anything else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to address the council at all regarding your application?
Acting Mayor and members of the council, it's great to be here. My name's Len Pratt. I live at 301 Wildwood Avenue. I primarily want to introduce Joe. And this is his home, and he's thoughtfully done this plan. I've worked with a lot of people over the 50 years, and I can tell you this, that Joe is as thorough an applicant as I've ever worked with. And in that submission, I think reflects that. With that, Joe, come on up here. He's going to be a great addition to Birchwood, and I mean that. And his wife Teresa will be great as well.
Good evening, everybody. Joe Galadowicz, proud owner of 131 Wildwood. Great to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry my wife can't be here. We have one of our grandkids for the week unexpectedly, but all good. Yeah, we are really excited about this opportunity to build this home here. This is going to be kind of our, downsized retirement home for us, and we're just really looking forward to being on the lake. I grew up on a lake up in the Brainerd Lakes area when I was a kid, and it's a great opportunity to kind of get back to lake living.
Excellent.
So, anyway, do you have any specific questions about the application? Ben did a wonderful job, I think, of summarizing, a lot of the details.
I was thinking we'd go through each one of the variances individually, if you agree.
Would suggest that's a good idea.
Okay. So as we get to them, we'll ask questions as we go here, so.
Oh, yes, we did meet with the neighbors on both sides and reviewed the site plan and the details of what we wanted to build, and they were both sides very supportive.
And I can say Chris and Renee, who live on the west
West
side
side.
there, stopped me in the street and said they liked what you were doing there, so.
Okay. And that's the one with the shorter variance, correct, West?
Correct, that is correct. That's
Yeah.
the site.
All right. Variance request number 1 is construction on an undersized lot. Is there any discussion for that one?
I would like to propose a condition and the condition I would like to propose would be that there are 2 lots here that compose this property. And I also have some concerns that it's, among the smaller properties in Birchwood. As a condition, I would like to propose that the lots be merged together, and that's a kind of a no-cost thing that you can do. It's not going to change the density of Birchwood, but I think that's appropriate and required by the state. So I would propose that condition on this variance. So,
And we do have the application to complete that and are sort of in process.
Any additional comments from Bridget or Ryan?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I will move to approve the variance for construction on an undersized lot, with the condition that the lots be merged together prior to the issuance of permits. Is that good enough?
I think so. Do we have a
Second.
second? Second?
Alan, did you have a comment?
Yes, well, we're motioned and seconded, and so since we've got a whole series of these, I think a good caveat to go with them, assuming that they're all passed at some point, would be to have the letter communicating the variances are successful, to also put in there the rationale. So we've got some findings.
Alan, I've got a whole bunch of findings. I was going to throw those in at the end for
Okay.
approval. Is that okay?
Someone's thinking about it other than me.
Yep, I'm thinking about it. I just thought, since we have so many here, I don't want to go through findings on each one unless we
Yeah, it
really
could
need
be either
to.
front end or back end, but as long as we
Okay.
get those on the record,
Yep.
make my day,
Yep.
anyway.
Excellent. All right, so we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. I could probably go harder than that. Number 2 is, let's see. Variance 2 is garage east side setback of 5 feet. Code calls for 10 feet. This one is the garage only, correct? Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I would add a condition to this one that the setback reduction be limited to the distance the garage spans along the east property line.
For the variance, right?
Right.
So it's just the garage.
Just the
Just
structure.
the garage, just the garage. The setback is reduced only for the
Structure.
garage structure adjacent to the property line or along the property line.
Rather than, Ryan,
Do you have a
Oh,
better
just-
wording?
well, it typically would be worded as accessory structure setback, but that could open up for further, you know, for a shed or something elsewhere on the property. So you just want it specifically for this proposed location.
Specifically for this proposed location, yeah.
And for that proposed structure.
And that, yes. I can figure out, and Alan, if you want me to draft a letter and send it to you with all this stuff, I can do that, if you'd rather.
Many hands make light work.
I'll try to capture all this, but if we both take notes,
Yeah.
we'll,
Between the collective, we'll be fine.
okay.
Excellent.
You do, however, need someone to move it.
Yes, I do. Did you want to make the motion for that?
I will move to approve variance number 2, the reduction in setback for the garage to 5 feet, with the condition that the variance for the reduction in setback apply only to the garage structure along the east property line. Good enough? Okay.
I will second that. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Variance request 2 passes. Variance request number 3, garage right-of-way setback at 16 feet, code calls for 30 feet. My understanding for this one is the previous garage, which is no longer there, was originally directly on the property line. So the garage will be moving back 16 feet,
Constructed, really.
constructed 16 feet back. Any additional comments, questions, concerns?
I would just put the same condition on this one.
That it applies only to the garage?
Yeah.
Only to the driveway, you mean?
Only to the front of the garage,
Oh, to the front, okay, yep,
only to the garage
Front
along
of
the
the garage
street.
front of the
structure.
garage, yep.
Yeah.
Make that in the form of a motion, Ryan?
Okay, I move to approve the garage right-of-way setback at 16 feet, which is variance request number 3, on the condition that the setback reduction apply only to the garage from the property line along the street.
I'll second. Kathy? Any additional? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Variance 3 passes. Variance 4, house west side yard setback at 8.5 feet, code calls for 10. I did have a question. In one of the documents for this one, it did describe that it needed, they wanted it to move that direction due to a right-of-way on the east side to make it easier to get to the lake for emergency. If they did move it to the 10-foot equal, is there a reason that it's, other than that it was already there?
I think,
Does it work better with the lot somehow that way, or?
well, I think the walkway or the access on that side, plus the egress windows, is that sort of the, yeah. And then, like we were talking about, it's more of a desire and an aesthetic thing in the front. If it's shifted that way, the front entry is behind the garage rather than an appearance of a front door, so. It's a lot of things that aren't necessarily germane to applying for a variance as far as practical difficulty, but that lake access, and then the fact that it's not exceeding what was there before. They could put a footprint the exact same as was there before, and it would be worse. So,
Agree.
it's hard to, it's, like I say, it's pretty subjective, but
Sure.
it's a better layout. And I should mention, that would be an 8.5, and I think we saw on this, on the plan, was there 9.5 on the neighboring property? So in total, there's 18 feet rather than the 20
Oh.
we would hope for. It's not a situation where there's a, structure right on that property line. So there is room over there, but it's also not creating something where things are very tight.
And you talked to the neighbors and they were cool with that?
Yeah, very fine with everything. Yeah, we went through the site plan and all the details and what we had in mind, and they were both very, very simple.
Yeah, the pickets at your house, at the house, were very brief, so.
Yeah, exactly.
So the question, and we're talking about the west side yard setback here. How far is the house back from the east side? How far will it be set back from the east side?
So the front of the house,
Oh, do you want to come up to the microphone just to make sure the,
That's a good idea.
yes.
So people that live on the lake, the front side is the lake side, right? And the back side is the street side, so.
I know this is going to be a bit hard to see, but. Thank you, Lynn. So the very back side of the house, which is the lake side, is narrowest. And I think the narrowest dimension is 24 feet, or 23 feet. And then it expands to 25 feet, and then ultimately to 30 feet in the back, the width of the house.
Okay.
Steps it
And
back
s-
towards the lake to get a.
So, so the front eastern, portion of the lot will actually be much wider than 11 and a half feet. I think the widest portion is 16 or more feet.
And what's the, let me, if you don't mind, let me get to kind of the point of my question is I'd like to assign a condition on the east side of the house, a setback that's more than 10 feet there. And I'd like to know what the minimum distance the house is back from.
The house would be at
from
the
the east.
11 and a half foot.
So if we assign a condition that setback be permanently maintained at 11 and a half feet,
I'm very comfortable
that's,
with that.
you're comfortable with
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Said differently, a total of 20 feet
That's
minimum.
I like that better.
Yeah.
Yep, I like that better.
Yeah.
Okay, is that okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let you
Yeah,
go where you want.
That was our intent
Okay,
as well, to sort of
Yeah,
honor
yeah,
the total dimension.
okay.
And then it narrows.
Yeah, to get his stairway off his porch down.
And,
Makes sense, Ryan?
yeah,
What's going
that
on
makes,
here, Lynn?
actually, I think that's a
Is that
better
egress?
way
These are
to
egress, right?
put it.
What's-
There's egress windows here
Mhm.
and here, these two.
Use this as a porch?
No, that's just simply open space there.
Okay.
That's a retaining wall. So he's got his egress windows in his walkway, and he steps it back, opening this up. So that is a courtesy to the neighbor. And the house design also then
No,
has a
so,
stairway.
so what's this right here?
That's a sidewalk.
No, this is a sidewalk, but what's right next to the sidewalk?
Oh,
Right
that's
here.
just a retaining wall. That's a flattened area that'll be for
Okay.
landscaping.
Okay.
There's a lot of articulation on this building. It moves around.
So let me ask one more question here. With respect to the 8.5 foot setback, this was the one that wasn't unanimous at the planning commission. Is there some topology on the east side? My understanding was, and maybe you can explain this a little better, that there was some topology on the west side of the house. There was a hill there. Can you talk a little bit about how that makes the lot is topologically such that it's preferred to reduce the setback on that side? Could you talk about that briefly?
So
And maybe at the mic, please. You're gonna get your exercise here with us, but
that's good. So on the western edge.
topographically, sorry, I always mess those up.
That's right.
so.
Yeah, so on the western edge between our lot and the neighboring lot, the elevation there is higher than on the eastern side. So it's
Okay.
so it's a little bit like this, and it's a fair bit. It's 4 feet, maybe 5 feet of elevation change. So what that ultimately means is it's impractical to be able to, walk along the western edge and get down to the water. You kind of have to use the east side as the main walkway to get from the lake back to the garage and then back, back to the front of the house or to the street. And so with the egress windows as well, all of a sudden it gets to be very tight on that east side of the garage. And pushing to the west is kind of just building the house into the hill a little bit more, which, is intended to sort of, it's kind of dead space, if you will, on that west side. It's not really useful space, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we maintain, that access on that side. And so that was kind of the trade-off we were looking for. If we could get that 1.5 feet, then that would give us a little bit more elbow room on the east side, and it wasn't really taking anything away on the west side. Does that make?
Yeah, I guess I want to understand, because I think it would probably be, on a flat lot, it would probably be preferable to go 10 and 10. But I also think that, my experience having a house on a lake lot, that where those setbacks are reduced, I'm forced to, fortunately, have nice neighbors, but sometimes almost have to walk on their lots.
Yeah.
And so, I think I can understand it in that context, so.
Any other comments from Bridget or Ryan?
Nope.
Did you want to make a motion since you wanted to
Sure.
put a
So
condition on that?
I will move to approve variance request for house west side yard setback at 8.5 feet with the condition that, other than the garage as proposed, no structure be constructed or expanded within 11.5 feet of the east side
West.
of the lot. No, the
Oh,
the
you're right, it's
condition is on the
opposite, you're right.
east side. Is that, but double check what I said. Does that sound right to you guys?
Be the east side would be the
The-
11, yes.
The 11.5 is on the east side of the lot. Yeah.
And I thought that the, pardon me for interrupting, but
No,
plans show 11.3 to the edge?
I thought it was 11.5, is it?
I'm just looking through at the, some of the drawings, like one of the first, one with the blue and the purple.
No. You're right, because they included the lot was 49.8 in the last survey instead of 50.
okay, so
We
I
should adjust
will
that a little.
withdraw my motion, and I will make the motion again. I move to approve variance request for the house west side yard setback at 8.5 feet with a condition that no structure other than the garage as proposed be constructed or expanded within 11.2 feet of the east property line. You have 1/10 of a foot of wiggle room, leeway, yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All opposed, or no? All
In favor?
in favor, thank you. It's been a long week.
I,
Aye. All opposed? Variance request number 4 passes.
Mayor, can I clarify something?
Mhm.
Ryan, in that motion, you did not maintain a 20-foot total setback or something, right?
I
Sorry,
said
I was typing.
11.2. I mean,
You just were concerned that other
that's all I
side has a
really,
decrease.
yeah, I guess I didn't say it. I think the way Joe did it was better, but it has the same meaning,
No,
right?
that's
So,
good.
Okay,
I wasn't listening.
yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
So,
All right, variance request number 5, house height of greater than 30 feet, method A, 35 feet max. Code calls for no higher than the previous home max height of approximately 25 feet. Do you have any discussion for that one?
How is that calculated?
that's a whiteboard discussion, but
The height,
Well, we haven't submitted a plan.
The building permit will have that calculation on it, be required to have the calculation based on method A, B, or C in our ordinance, and it's a lot, it's pretty convoluted, but they aren't asking for a variance to go above the ordinance. This is just because it's an expansion of the nonconformity that was there. It's higher than that. But they know if they went above the 35 max or 30 average or whatever it is in that ordinance section, that they would have to come back for a different variance. So we can show you the calculations when we get them if you want. But it's,
yeah.
I guess.
Always curious about that.
I guess my concern here is I'm not quite sure what I'd be approving. If I vote for a variance for the house height with no conditions,
At this point, I think the request is to just be able to go, this was a flat top, right?
yeah.
Or very close to it, the existing structure?
no, it had a,
It had a little
To it,
pitch.
little
Yeah.
bump.
people call it a gable, I like to call it pointy, but that's my technical
Previous
term.
Previous pointy was only a certain height, and to get
Yes.
anything above that, they need just at least this variance.
But the height code allows them to build, see, I think the height code allows them to build a conforming structure
I
with,
think because it's already non-conforming, they're asking for the variance, because it started out as non-conforming.
And it's still within code.
I believe it's,
I don't think it's needed, but
it may not be, but here's it's a combination of that first variance, undersized lot, right?
yeah,
They're
okay.
entitled to replace what was there. But if they're expanding, if it's,
A non-conformity.
yeah, if it's not the same nonconformity, and that would include the height, is considered an expansion. When you look up the definitions in the statutes, it's vertical or horizontal expansion. So because it's a nonconforming lot and they're utilizing the fact that it was a nonconforming in some,
Doesn't make any sense.
we can
Um,
change this.
You know?
Well, I mean, like, here, I can read you the height code here.
Yep.
But its core, it's an expansion of a non-conforming, a
Structure of
non-conformity on the lot. That's why they're asking for it.
So if they want to build anything over 25 feet, they need the variance.
Yes.
Based on what
Different
was there.
variance.
Yeah.
Because it's non-conforming that
Because it's
they're
non-conforming.
changing, but they're still within our
doesn't make-
current code.
Correct.
Sounds good to me.
So you're saying well, so here's my concern with this variance is, when I vote on this, what am I voting on? What variance is proposed here? It looks like it's just a blanket variance to the height code.
I was
Is that what
thinking
it
this
is?
would be a variance that would be house height cannot exceed 35 feet max, but can exceed the previous 25 feet of
That's the
preferred
Yeah, that's the way I
previous
understand it.
structure.
Yeah.
That's the way it's written, sort of.
I'm willing to make a motion for that, where it cannot exceed 35 feet max. But
Average.
average. Well, no, that would be max, 35 feet
But
max.
you're making a motion for a variance that's equivalent to the code.
But the reason I'm doing it is because the previous structure was 25
But
feet,
the
and they're
non-con-
basing theirs on an existing structure, which technically is not there anymore.
No, they're not in this case. Show me where, that doesn't make any sense. You can build a new structure on a lot that conforms, and you don't have to pay any attention to the old structure.
As long as it doesn't exceed, I think, what was there before, in terms of non-conforming.
No, you could tear down an old house and build a brand-new conforming house,
Okay.
and that's just fine.
Disagree
They
with
could.
You could do it on an undersized lot if you get a variance to the undersized lot, but if you're gonna say that we have to grant a variance for every single code because a variance, because something doesn't
Oh, I see what
conform
you're
to
saying.
one single code, we're gonna have to basically grant variances to all of our code.
But isn't it, is it,
I think this was just an abundance of caution by these folks, recognizing that what they're building is gonna be greater than what was there. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with, and I'm fine with saying, to the extent that it exceeds the height of the previous structure within a setback, is that what it's saying? Is because the setbacks have been reduced,
I don't think it
now
has
the
to do with the
structure can go
setback, I think
higher.
it's the height, so.
So how is, but because, I mean.
Brian, what would make you comfortable?
What would make me comfortable would be, basically, I think we should have somebody tell us precisely what is being varied as part of this. Like, could they build a one-story house? Are you saying, Ben, that as soon as this house is above the old house in any way, that they need a variance?
Essentially, yes, because they are using the fact that it's a legally non-conforming previous, like their deck will be utilizing the old established setback because it was legally non-conforming.
But I mean, if I grant this variance, what prevents them from building a house that's, and I don't mean like, listen, Len, I think I don't mean to say this in any sort of a derogatory way. I don't think you're trying to push the limits here, but there are people who come in and say, okay, here's the one thing I'm gonna do, and then they get a variance, and then all of a sudden what you get is something very different here.
Ryan,
So-
this has limits on it. So if I'm, by no means am I a home builder or anything like that, but basically, if it was a one-for-one replacement of the property, then you wouldn't need a variance. Since they're building a new structure that's gonna be above the old structure, that's where you need the variance. It's just like, and I wanna say like, if you're doing a home repair and you're doing a one-for-one replacement, you don't need to get a permit. But if you're doing something that you're adding on or building, you need to get a permit.
So you're saying the new height of the house is non-conforming?
No, it,
No,
It's exceeding the previous a better example, I think, would be the garage that you guys have now varied, right? So the previous garage was literally at the edge of the property, right, at the right-of-way. So now the new one is pushed back, what was it, 16 feet, 15 feet?
Why would I?
They still needed a variance because that's still not in compliance with the existing code.
That's right, because they need a variance to build within the setback. They would, and because the garage protrudes into the setback. But I don't understand why a height variance is needed when the height of the new house is fully conforming.
Well, that also extends into this setback if you grant the 8.5-foot side yard, but,
Sure,
and part of that is the fact that the old structure was, I mean, if you're starting from scratch and saying just, this is a lot of record, so it's buildable, everything that meets code, we don't need a variance for, yeah, that kind of changes the height thing and whatever, but the fact
Since
that they're
everything is
utilizing-
already removed from this, should we be looking at this as a new build?
Something of a new build now, it's just a hole in the ground, right?
Well, they
There's
have
no
they have a
structure.
year to,
I mean, Ben,
Replace.
does what they're proposing conform to the height code or doesn't it?
He doesn't know. He hasn't seen the plan.
Well, then, how can you tell us a variance is needed without having seen the
no,
plans?
we don't have to tell you that. If they come with a building permit that doesn't meet it, then we're telling them, you gotta come back and get a height variance. They know it has to meet that code.
Then why are we in here discussing a variance when you're telling me a variance isn't needed?
No. You're saying in a different scenario, they come in because they have a variance and they exceed the 30 and 35-foot limits. That's not possible.
So is the house, you don't know whether the proposal is conforming or not?
I don't know it. I never know what's conforming until they submit a building permit.
No, just a second, like,
Yeah.
how come, Ben, like, what do you expect that they might do that would require a variance?
Build a structure higher than the previous non-conforming structure on the non-conforming lot, which by the state statute and by probably the
That's
ordinance
not-
we've adopted
So.
is an expansion.
A variance would only be required if they built a structure that's higher than the current conforming code. So I'm not asking relative to the old structure. What do you expect that they're going to build that is not conforming to the current code?
I don't expect them to exceed the current code. If
Then no variance is needed
Ben, do
here.
you have the Minnesota statute that you're referencing? Because
I could probably look it up, but
Because
the
I think I see where you're coming from and the need for it, but if we need to get our ducks in rows about looking at what the
I
laws
think-
actually are, then let's just.
I mean, I'm fine with somebody telling me that they expect the house to not conform to the current code, Ben. But you need to tell me how you expect the house to not conform, because we only grant variances to things that do not conform to the code.
it is the definition of expansion in the statute is vertical or horizontal increase or expansion of the legally non-conforming structure.
Yeah,
So if we're saying we're starting from scratch with a lot of record, and we're just saying the undersized lot is fine, we actually don't need
Alright,
that variance either. We're just saying this is a lot of record.
I agree. I also don't think you need that variance.
That's fine.
And that's what they applied
Because-
for in good faith, and so if
Yeah,
if
I
everyone
guess,
agrees that they don't need that one, let's see what the plans show. I mean, by not granting it, you're not really slowing anything down based on your discussion. But if you see the hole in the ground, that's what I'm looking at in the middle of the packet. It seems to me it's new construction at this point, right?
Yeah, but it's 1 year to replace
Get a
that,
year.
right?
Here's the other thing, though. If they
That's
had,
not
if
the
they had
salient
come
point
here,
to that.
if they had come here and you had had a less favorable
Not adding a
opinion of
floor to a
these,
house that's
No.
sitting-
here's the reason I don't think this is needed. It says the conforming portion of a non-conforming structure may be expanded, provided that such modification or expansion does not increase the portion of the structure that is non-conforming, and provided that the modification otherwise conforms to the provisions of the zoning code. So if you're expanding the height of a structure in a way that doesn't introduce something that's new and non-conforming, that doesn't require a variance.
well, the 8.5-foot setback, I guess it depends what order you approve the variances in, but the 8.5-foot side yard setback is non-conforming, right?
The structure is occupying space within a setback that was not occupied by the previous structure.
Ellen,
Right.
can you help with this? I mean, isn't this based on sort of legalities, whether we need to do this or not?
Well, I think the concern, again, is if this structure was still there and there was talk of, like I said, bumping up another floor or something like that, that's certainly a horizontal expansion of a non-conforming structure
Yep.
on this non-standard lot, right? And so I understand the sentiment of wanting to make sure that they can go higher than what the original structure was there. Because you're right, I mean, they could rebuild exactly what was there within the next year, right, and not have any worries. But
Right.
they've come in and now you've gotten variances because they're shifting it around on the property. You saw where the previous one was sort of canted at an angle.
Yep.
They want to be a little more straight on and just use the lot more efficiently.
So there really is no downside in approving this variance?
Not at all.
Well,
Right.
no.
They still have to conform to the height code for the new structure.
Right.
So, all right, so let's do this then. I mean, like Ben, it really seems like it's concerning to me that you're saying that. What I'm concerned about here is that we're basically granting a variance to a statute that, or to an ordinance, and then somebody could go build 3 stories high.
No,
without
I
another
don't see
variance.
that.
Because that's what a variance does. It says you can't, it basically relieves you of the requirement of building to the zoning code.
Well, exactly why you would put a condition on it saying, the variance is based on whatever you put up to not exceed. I mean, it's written into
All right, so let's
into the
just do
vote that they've
this.
already taken.
I will move to grant a variance to the house height code.
No, the
Such-
previous house height.
I will move to grant a variance for the house height such that the new house fully conforms to the zoning code, to the height limit in the zoning code. Is that what you're expecting, Ben?
work for what
I
they
mean, we're
do.
basically saying granting a variance that they have to meet our code.
Again, Ryan, it's because they're exceeding the previous height. They're utilizing the nonconformity part.
The previous structure.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I was going to say earlier, if they had come here and had a less favorable opinion from the board on these other variances, they were probably just going to build on that existing footprint, even if it's cockeyed and whatever. They were going to use that, right? They could still put up roughly the same house, but they'd want to go higher than the 25 feet that was there before.
Would this,
So-
would this hurt your project at all if this was tabled? Like this one?
No, let's not
variance?
table it. Why isn't?
No, Ryan, because you have legal concerns about it. I want clarity at this point from Ben and Alan on so either we don't have to do a variance, great, or we issue the variance next month, because you seem very uncomfortable with it. I
Well-
don't feel like I'm thoroughly confused at this point.
I mean,
And so, I want to make sure we're doing the right thing. And it's, we can sit here and we can discuss it all night if it's going to hurt your project, if we don't issue this.
I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a one-story house, and you want to go build your one-story house, and you want to put a second story on it. You can do that without a variance, as long as you don't exceed the current height limit of the house, right, Alan?
But as long as my house is conforming
In every other way.
in every other
Well,
way. But this house doesn't
so
seem like it was
you guys
This
conforming.
one
seem
didn't
like-
conform, and the new
Anyway.
structure is getting variances
Well-
because it doesn't conform on the lot, so.
Then why don't I have to grant a variance to every one of our codes? Like,
I'm not understanding, you said that twice now, I don't understand the notion.
because you're saying that an expansion,
The perception here is that the 25-foot roof is going to be higher than what could be
mean-
rebuilt at 25 feet, so they want a variance, because what they are proposing, it's my understanding, is going to be just higher than 25. So,
that's
Because
fine, but
even though they
you're
ripped out,
expanding a conforming structure, and the result is also conforming.
if it was truly new construction on a standard lot with a standard conforming house, but again, we're going through these variances for that reason, so.
Okay,
Here, I
so
think he's-
what new nonconformity does the height increase create?
I think if I could speak on it, if there wasn't a structure or anything on this site, we wouldn't be putting a house here because
Right.
they'd be asking for variances and everything. And for variances, you have to prove that you're going, doing your best to make it. So there just won't be a house here. But since there is already an existing house, they're asking to be able to make this more non-conforming essentially.
How are they making it, no, okay, so what you said there, I think, is really critical. They're asking to make the height of the house more nonconforming.
Because what they're allowed to do is put it exactly back how it is.
one-for-one replacement.
That's not,
25
that's not
replacement.
correct. They can build it higher, just like you can take a one-story house and build it a two-story house, as long as it meets the code. We granted a bunch of variances for other stuff, but explain to me why everybody expanding from a one-story house to a two-story house wouldn't need a variance.
Because most of those are going to be on conforming lots with conformities everywhere else. Those are the ones that we've
So
seen.
you're saying because it's not a conforming lot, every zoning code has to be varied? Why is the height the one that has to be varied and not, say,
I don't,
impervious surface
so they
or something?
they wouldn't have to do any variances if they built basically.
Fully conforming.
Not fully conforming, it'd still be non-conforming because the house was not conforming to begin with. But if they just built a house that was basically a new house identical to the old one, then they wouldn't need any variances.
So couldn't the language be something like, because the original structure was non-conforming, out of an abundance of caution, they are requesting to be able to meet the current code in terms of height?
I think we need to get through this, and I will move, I agree. I'll move to grant a variance such that the height of the house meets the current code.
Proposed, the new house.
I will move to grant a variance such that the new house meets the current code.
All in favor? Oh, wait,
We
we
need
need
a
a
second.
second.
I second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, I feel like this is an issue I don't want to deal again, so Alan, can you do some research on this so we can get some clarity in the future?
Well,
Sure. I mean, this is kind of a unicorn just because of the nature of the lot.
I think
Still,
we need to
just for
get,
what it's
I
worth,
think
but-
the person you should be asking for an explanation is Ben, and you should be asking him how.
Well, Alan and Ben, can you work together on getting me an explanation?
I mean, I think what you need to look at here, I'm sorry, this really is just, we're just politicking here a little bit,
I
but
think whether it's needed or not, they asked for it, and I think it just gives them some confidence to go forward.
Absolutely.
So a variance that's not needed is the tree that falls in the forest that you don't hear. So
well, I mean, my
you're not
concern
varying
is-
now from the current code either,
Isn't
which
so
they'd
much-
understand that.
Like, I like to be right as much as the next person, but like, or maybe a little more sometimes. But my concern here is when we grant variances, that they can't be, and that's why I'm so careful with conditions, is then all of a sudden you end up with a 6-story structure. And then, and that's fine. I think we were careful not to do this, but what the code says, and I think what Ben needs to give us an opinion on, is that it says the conforming portion of a non-conforming structure may be expanded, provided that such modification or expansion does not increase the portion of the structure that is non-conforming. And so it sounds to me like reading that, it can be expanded up to the amount that's conforming.
I
And if-
disagree. Expanding the portion that's non-conforming doesn't mean expanding the portion that's non-conforming by the height. Any non-conformity.
Okay, but that's not what, but a height variance applies specifically to the height.
But it's expanding any nonconformity. When it's on the undersized lot, when it's got an 8.5-foot setback, when it's got a setback from the ordinary high water of whatever it does, and those are nonconforming, if you're
You're
expanding
saying
that in any
that
way.
the height, the structure is being expanded in a non-conforming area.
Well, probably, but here's the example, like Alan was saying, the detached
Well,
garage.
listen, like, I think we need to make sure Ben understands this, because I think we need to get an explanation here so that we all understand of why a variance is needed for this.
So I feel like I understand why a variance is needed, and I do want to be respectful of people's time. But it sounds like we are ready to approve this variance, and then we want some research.
Clarity.
We
and
need
clarity for going forward.
Ben to come back and tell us why an expansion.
I'm hearing what Ryan's saying. He's reading right out of the code, and he's saying as long as you're working within the window of what the code says, you can expand it even if it's a nonconformity. I understand the tension there, so I think you can move on.
I mean, I agree we need
Yes.
to move on, but I do think we need to make sure that that the code is being read in a way, and if it's not, then I think the code needs to be cleaned up a little bit, so.
All right, I'm going to move on to variance request number 6.
Did we get all ayes, right?
We did get all ayes.
Okay,
Do we need to vote again?
just making sure.
Well, we can do
Aye.
all
I
in favor.
heard 1 and 2, but yeah.
Let's do a
We
vote
can do it
again,
again.
just to
All
make
in
sure.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
We've had problem with votes before in the city council, so I just want to make sure we're voting.
Agreed.
Me too. Like I said, I got you on the second, but I didn't see the all aye. I usually check that off, so.
Yep. Variance request number 6, retaining walls requested within the 50-foot OHW setback requirement. Do you have a picture of all of the, because there is a lot of retaining walls on this one, I recall.
So this walkway is sort of there in crumbling fashion, so we.
That's an existing, right?
Yes, this is the existing replaced walkway, and then there is a retaining wall here and here. And so we'd be replacing those and then adding these.
Adding
And-
2 more. And then it looks like you also have retaining walls around the
Yes.
west side, is that right?
We have retaining walls, yes, on the west side for the rain garden. So we have a rain garden here associated with the impervious.
Is that working now?
25 and 30, yes.
Can you go, there's a camera up there,
If you want to put that on the screens.
so you can show.
All right.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Perfect, right there.
All right. Okay, so as he was showing me, there are, it looks like 4 different retaining walls,
So there-
each of which are 4-foot tall max.
Right, so there is an existing, kind of riprap wall here that we want to replace with retaining wall. These steps are already there, we're gonna replace them. This retaining wall is also there in wood that we're gonna replace. So this is new structure, and this would be new structure. Basically just to manage the erosion and improve the infiltration of the runoff. I think our calculations put us our calculations put us in a position to basically absorb almost all the runoff from the impervious structures and everything else that we have.
What are the retaining walls gonna be? What's the material you're gonna use?
We're going to use a natural stone.
Okay.
And then also on this, I don't know if you can back it up just a little bit, but over by the garage and the other portion, there is retaining walls around this, where all the arrows are directing as a rain garden.
Right, here,
Drawn.
here to here. And these are just like 1 foot high. These are not 3 foot
Single
high.
stone style.
Same stone, and they're there because, again, the west side is a much higher elevation, and we need to have, a basin for the rain garden.
All right.
It's a cut stone, not irregular like a boulder.
Right.
Rectangular shaped ledge stones.
Yeah, it's 1 foot deep
What it says on
by
the thing.
various lengths.
Okay.
3 feet long or 2 feet long.
All right.
The issue is that stormwater just runs right into the lake.
Right down.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
And Joe hired a firm that specializes in shoreline. And we're gonna break that runoff, hold it so it doesn't go into the lake.
And then in the area where we have these 4 walls,
Yes.
those also rain gardens as well?
No, there's not rain gardens there, but these are this entire space is natural plantings, to ensure that have the set aside.
Sure.
In the riparian area. I think our required set aside is 40%, but we're set asiding all of it. It's 70 or 80% is set aside.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I guess the only question I have is, Marcus, have you looked at this yet? Have you did a little consulting with them, if I remember? Okay.
We kind of worked together before they submitted their original request to kind of interpret the code, and they bounced ideas off me and went back and forth.
And so, do you see this as it's drawn, as basically meeting the city's code's engineering requirements?
Yeah, I think that,
Or close, or such that as proposed,
yeah,
a tweak or two will get it there?
I haven't
Okay.
dove into what they submitted again on the calcs, but from what I saw in the past, they're meeting the codes.
And you will go through
I'll go through
our
and-
code
yep,
with
and
a
Very,
fine tooth comb and or
Right.
needle.
yep.
And by the way, we spent a lot of time working on this impervious surface code, and I will tell you, I was glad to see you work through it. What kind of an engineer are you?
I'm actually a biomedical engineer.
Okay, so you're a biomedical engineer, and I think that what I saw here is, you basically just, had you done this sort of thing before? Not quite like this, and you just kind of figured it out, right? So I was sort of impressed, but I also, I'll give ourselves a little compliment. I think our code was probably written okay here, but we were also, I'm sort of proud of that code, but I think we also, was sort of impressed with you going through it like that. So, did you find the code was understandable?
I found the code to
Okay.
be very understandable.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of, really understanding the broader context of how do you calculate infiltration rates and so on.
Yeah, and let me ask you one question while I'll shut up later in the meeting, but, when you went through the variance or the impervious surface stuff, there's a bunch of code with stormwater management plans and stuff. Was it pretty clear to you, and the maintenance agreement and the riparian buffer, was it all pretty clear to you that that stuff applied
Yes.
to you and how it applied to in your case?
Yes.
And where you were seeking impervious above, so somebody like an engineer could just kind of read that code and see that that's how it applied. Okay, thank you. So,
Ben or Marcus, will he need anything from the DNR for his walls?
I have not dove into the plan that in detail either.
Okay.
I don't know the routing of these plans, if they have to all go. Joe's checked into it, I know.
Did you? Oh, okay. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, there is actually an error in my application. We do need,
I was wondering.
sorry, I screwed up.
You were doing good, too.
I know, right up until this moment. We do need a Rice Creek permit.
Yeah.
We don't need a DNR permit. We're fine with every other municipality or entity from this regard, but I did find out after, I screwed up. We do need a permit from Rice Creek. We have applied for it already. It looks like it won't be an issue to get the permit granted, but it certainly would be, important for you to, if you're going to grant this, to grant a contingent on, the
Yes,
Rice Creek permit.
that's what I was wondering about.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns?
well, you found the condition on this one, Kathy.
did, so I'll go
I'm-
ahead.
I think I made too many motions and said too many things, so I'll give somebody else a shot.
Thank you. I'll do a motion to approve variance request number 6, retaining walls requested within the 50-foot OHW setback requirement contingent upon the issuance of a permit from the Rice Creek Watershed
District.
District. Thank you.
Second, Ryan.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's 6. I believe that's the full,
Welcome to Birchwood.
welcome.
Thank you.
When does construction start?
We're going to start, really, because of the lot, we have to start the retaining walls and work our way back, so we'll start in the spring.
How was the process for you?
This process?
Well, not me personally, but like the city in general. I mean,
The process was great. I understood what I needed to do with the regs. I think the most difficult part for me, and kind of what you guys struggled with as well, is whether or not that height variance was a variance or not.
okay,
I didn't know. It wasn't super clear, but I put it in there because I didn't want to have.
You didn't want to
Here
be
I have
short,
say,
yeah.
Why did you submit this variance? Right? So that was a little unclear, but for the most part, I thought everything was straightforward in the process. It was great working with Ben and Marcus, sorry, I was forgetting Marcus. And just, getting this all figured out. So it's a complicated situation because it's a small lot and all of that, but I think the process was good.
Excellent.
it was okay. All right, well,
All right.
let us know. Maybe I'll talk to you sometime, Len, and you can tell us
Yeah.
if there's anything we can do a little better, so.
Excellent. All right.
Been a lot of progress made here. As you know, my history, for 10 years, I was on the planning commission here, and that was about 10 years ago. And there's been a lot of progress made, so,
Excellent.
but that doesn't mean we're done. And now that we have him coming on board to the city, he can help.
There you go.
Oh, you've been signed up already. Welcome. All right, we're going to move on to our variance request for 425 Lake Ave.
Hold on,
Sorry.
I do want clarification from Ben and Alan regarding that variance, whatever you find, just let me know.
Oh, just that section of the code?
I want you guys to dig into the house height thing
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of provide some clarity.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, my-
And I did skip a part because we have to approve our findings of fact.
Right, that's what's left.
Yes.
Okay,
We
so
are moving on to that.
Yes,
I'll
there we go.
try to read my spiel quickly here. You know, first of all, I would say okay, so let me do it this way. I will make a motion to incorporate the following findings of fact into the record. So first of all, I would like to include Mr. Galatowicz's findings of fact, is that your name correctly, into, from his application into the record of findings of fact. I further have these, with respect to practical difficulties. The property is an undersized lot of record predating current zoning requirements. It is among the smallest properties in Birchwood. The lot size is 7,590 square feet, while the minimum lot size required by zoning code is 15,000 square feet. This makes the property non-conforming. The property has a steep slope towards the lake, which poses challenges for development and erosion control. These practical difficulties were not created by the applicant, but rather are inherent to the property. With respect to reasonableness, the proposal allows for the redevelopment of a non-conforming property in a manner consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. The reduced setback would allow for 11% wider access between the garage and the side yard. At the garage, the reduced setback would create less nonconformance compared to the pre-existing garage. It would create off-street parking spaces. On the west side of the house, the reduced setback would eliminate pinch points that limit emergency or practical use access on both sides of the house. The retaining walls would facilitate fulfilling the required 40% riparian buffer area and will improve stormwater infiltration. The lots will be merged together, improving the nonconformity. The proposal brings the property into conformity with the impervious surface code and should reduce runoff. With respect to essential character, the proposed development will not alter the essential character of the locality. Many shoreline properties in this area of Birchwood have setbacks of 6 feet on one side of the property. With respect to harmony with the ordinance, this proposal strikes a balance between the non-conforming code and the setback code, and the shoreline is stabilized with retaining walls, and the riparian buffer and rain gardens offset the retaining walls effects. With respect to consistency with the comprehensive plan, the addition preserves the city's low-density single-family character, which our comprehensive plan talks about. The project will require the removal of some trees, but the impact will be minimized. It preserves our tree canopy. And there are no negative impacts on traffic, public services, or negative properties. It also maintains water quality and improves erosion control. So, end of motion.
Okay.
End of list of findings.
End of list of findings, yep.
That was nicely cherry-picked from the application, so.
It was a very good application, I will totally give you that. Do we need a second for that?
Yeah, well, there's a first to adopt those as the findings of the board, right, to justify all these variances just as a collective whole. So a second on that list and a vote.
Any second? Otherwise,
Second, Ryan.
I'm picking Ryan, we'll see. You can have the next one. And then, let's see.
All in
Just
favor of
nodding-
adopting?
All
the
in
findings.
favor, my goodness. I'm tired already. All in
Sorry.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. Okay. That would be everything for 131 Wildwood Avenue's variance reviews. The next one we had on ours was 425 Lake Avenue, and it appears that one from the notes has been withdrawn, but we wanted to confirm that it actually has been withdrawn.
They didn't withdraw their application, they just didn't have information ready that we needed or that we had requested.
Okay,
for
so
the
we need to
planning commission.
send a letter from the city to extend.
One of two things has to happen. If the applicant is actually the one that withdrew because they needed to bring more information, or if the
Let's-
city said you don't have enough, so they can either say, we're pulling it, which is what the notes reflect,
Yes.
right? But we need something from the applicant saying that I'm withdrawing for now and I'll get back to you.
Let's
If
just
that's
send
not
him-
what happened, then we need to extend it by the city.
Let's just send him the 60-day letter, and I would suggest that we hear this in May no matter what.
Well, we need to justify the 60 days, that's all.
I think we,
If it's not something that we did or that we're slowing it down for, then it's not really our request.
Did they get added to the regular planning commission meeting in March?
Not yet.
I don't think we have that agenda yet, do we?
so can I ask, when was the application received by the city? Roughly.
That was end of January.
Late
Okay.
January.
I
So,
didn't see a signed one, but I think it was like the 27th of January, somewhere in there.
and so, did we send the applicant, within 14 days of receiving the letter, we have to send the applicant a notification that the application is incomplete if it's incomplete? Did we send such a letter?
No, we didn't send a letter.
Okay.
The applicant basically asked, you need anything else? And I had looked at what they sent, and I said, well, I'll be writing my report, and I'll let you know if I need more information.
So, we did not send a letter within the 14 days. And so.
I don't think we sent a letter to the Pratts or Gladowic's either saying your application is complete.
Okay, but I'm not asking whether we sent a letter that their application was complete. I'm asking whether we sent a letter that the application was incomplete.
No.
We did not send any such letter. And so as a result of that, I think it would be the best avenue for the city would be to send a 60-day letter at this time, extending the deadline for 60 days, just to cover ourselves here.
Well, if they haven't removed their application as well, I would agree that we'd want to send the letter regardless to make sure we extend ourselves the courtesy of the time.
And can we just, no, I think Alan is correct that we have to give a reason why. And I think just for people's edification here, the problem is if we let the 60 days lapse, those variances are automatically granted. And so, I would just say that,
Well, what was left in terms of calculations? Why are they coming back?
Additional calculations in the checklist that, what they had submitted a couple of weeks ago was basically meeting this, the section of the code says you have to prove that you aren't increasing runoff. And here's their calculation for the new 284 square feet and the rain garden.
And that's what
There
we'll
is-
use. We'll send them
Yeah,
a letter
but
just
there is
saying,
other stuff.
city is asking you for this data. It's not in your application, and we're extending 60 days for us to take action, period.
okay,
End
so,
of the discussion.
Do you agree that we have to send them a reason? I mean, I work for developers and I get a 60-day notice as soon as we submit sometimes
Sure
saying,
you do.
this is gonna not be heard in the next 2 months. They don't give a
I
reason.
recommend, and I've recommended it to this group, that you just send them out whenever an application comes in.
statute
Automatically granting yourself one.
requires that we give a reason, and I'm fine with Alan's reason.
Okay.
That sounds good.
I move to direct staff to provide a 60-day letter by
It'll go out this week.
this week to Mr. Shifsky.
We have to calculate when it came in, so we can inform when that date actually moves to, that's all.
We should be tracking that, though, right?
Someone knows
Okay.
that date. I don't, because I don't
No.
get those applications, but someone knows when it came in, and so that becomes
As
our
long as we
target.
do it within the original 60 days, I think we're fine,
Yep.
so.
Okay.
Okay, and then, so I made a motion, or are you guys just gonna take care of that?
I think you've
You
had
guys
a
will
motion,
take
you're
care
welcome
of
to
it.
second it, but I think administratively, we'll just send the letter out.
So, the next question I have is, there's a bunch of stuff with respect to the impervious surface code.
In
And,
relation to 425, though, because I don't think we should discuss anything with 425 here.
well, I want to deal with this with respect to 425, not necessarily relating to evaluating the variances, but I want to make sure that we are addressing certain requirements
We could probably do that offline though, right?
And- Okay, can
We should
that
put it
stuff
in
be
the
done
letter for sure.
offline? I just want to make sure
Well, there's the
staff
work
are
session.
aware that the requirements on impervious surface variances have to be fulfilled on the part of the city.
Yeah, and that should be in front of the
Okay.
planning commission, so they have that to recommend with too.
Okay, I mean, I'm making a note of this because, so that,
If they're missing, then we should tell them that that's one of the things the city needs to move this forward,
well,
why we're extending.
I want to make sure that so with respect to the variance, section 302-050, section 6 says, any property owner unwilling or unable to meet the requirements of 302-0506 may still apply for a variance. And if that's the case, the city planner shall note in the city planner's report that the property owner is unwilling or unable to comply with 302-0506 and shall enumerate the reasons, if known, that the property owner, and so I want to make sure that if we don't get anything back from Mr. Shifsky, we're still evaluating the variance in terms of those requirements to apply for variance. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, that actually
Okay.
says that in, sub.
It is.
In the
Yep,
planning commission's
yep,
minutes too.
Yep, and we just missed that last time, so.
And certainly we can highlight that in the letter to them.
Well, those are requirements on us.
Well,
Yeah.
and on them by extension.
Yep,
So,
yep,
I mean,
agreed.
It should be a recommendation from
Yep.
the planning commission, yes or no, that they
Yep.
did it before it gets
Yep.
to here. So, noted.
Yep, okay, thanks, sorry.
All right. Believe we can move on to, we have a couple people here, so let's see if we can get items here. So we have B is lift station update. That would be Marcus, right?
Marcus. No variance is required.
So I think my letter or my memo is in the packet. If, does council have any questions for me? Or anything, any concerns or anything?
Have we heard back from the EPA at all on the, getting Jennifer on that asap.gov?
Yep, she's on it. She called me, and designated, people, so we're in the clear and ready to pull whenever now.
Okay, so we're still waiting for the pump pieces to be available,
We-
and then they will assign us a date for when they're starting, is that right?
Yeah, at the pre-con at the end of this month. Yeah, at the end of this month on 26th, I think. They'll kind of go over their schedule, who their vendors are. They've already been coordinating with us on, because with the EPA's requirement, everything has to be sourced from the US, and that has shown some
Challenges?
difficulties, yeah, which we're through, hopefully, I think.
Okay.
So they've been submitting to us, we've been reviewing, working with the EPA on that,
Okay.
and stuff, so.
And then everything else regarding this project, once the pump pieces are in, everything else is in line and ready to go as far as repairing the area around the structure and the roads and whatever is getting torn up. So we have all of that stuff available, so it's gonna be as short as possible, right?
Yep, they're, in our contract, we require them to have everything ready and available, and then they're not allowed to dig until they're good to go.
Okay.
Shut down, hole will be dug, pull out the old one, put the new one in. You guys will see bypass pumping up the hill for as short as time as possible. So that's kind of part of the reason why
Okay,
they have to have all their ducks in a row.
yep,
We've had that before.
Bypass pumping,
When the lift station got inundated with
Yeah.
water, yeah, it was all very exciting. We had to figure out where it went.
I've heard that story.
It's not much of a story. Where's the sewage going?
okay. I don't think we need a motion or anything for this portion, so.
Thanks.
Let's see, we removed tree steward. Is the part about the trees being marked for trimming part of that as well?
I
It's
think
under
that
the
was
same-
just an update from Jennifer, just a
Okay.
one-sentence update saying that trees have been marked. Steve Dean will be getting back to us, so I guess the. point is
Bonus
there's
info
progress.
on that,
Yep.
okay. All right, then we have Marcus, are you here for any other items like siding, window, foundation repair, radon,
Drainage issues?
drainage issues? Can we move G up? So we can take care of some of our staff.
Yeah, that's
members
fine.
here?
Yeah,
Okay,
Absolutely.
yeah.
all right,
let's-
drainage issues, have at it.
Did you get married, Marcus? You did, right, a while
Did,
ago?
yeah.
Yeah, well, you gotta get home now,
Oh.
earlier.
She understands this. I have 3 this week, so. I guess I didn't see if there's anything on this, or is there questions, concerns?
We had a note from, I think it's from Jennifer, actually, for the residents of Oak Ridge Drive and White Pine Court had contacted the mayor, Jennifer, regarding drainage issues. There will be an open house on April 7th.
Yep.
Do you know what time that's going to be?
I do. It is 6:30.
6:30.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
here at City Hall.
Not coming in the morning for sure. All right, 6:30 PM, April 7th, open house here at the City Hall to discuss drainage issues and, let's see, similar issues regarding road drainage.
Could we get an email out about that possibly, maybe, Therese? About this, and maybe even a couple of them, that would be super. Please. I'm sure you would have done it anyway, but
Yeah, and then I think we'd probably want to hit Facebook and website too for that.
And the whole city is welcome, because the way I'll structure it is looking at the drainage as a city as a whole, because what their issues might be also apply across the city, right? So,
Well, ideally, we don't want to push it off of one property onto another too,
Exactly.
so, okay. I think that's everything with the drainage. Then we have the next items. Let's see, the items we'd pulled out of the consent agenda, we have treasury report, dock fee, that wouldn't apply to you, city credit card, no, additional office equipment, no, and Ty Schmidt rental agreement, I assume nothing for that one for,
I think it's in the consent
okay.
agenda, we probably
okay.
are okay.
I think that's everything for you.
Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you, Marcus.
Bye, Marcus.
Should we try Ben next here? Unless you really wanted to stick around, Ben.
Do we have, I don't
Do
think
we have any
more
other items for
Ben.
you?
Well, Ben's the subject of a
He's one of
item on
the,
the consent agenda, so.
yes.
I'll stick around. I got no.
Well, it wasn't pulled out of the consent agenda, so I don't know if we want to move the consent agenda portion that is not up for discussion forward, so he knows if he's,
All I'm noting is that's the only time he's mentioned for the rest of the meeting, that's
yes.
all.
Well, just so that he doesn't have to stick around for longer.
Thank you. I'll let myself out.
Okay. Are we okay with skipping to approving the consent agenda for everything that has not been pulled
Yes.
out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we're gonna go back to
And
city
then we're going to go
business
back
after
to
this.
city business. Mhm.
All right.
Okay, so I had pulled out A, D, E, F, and J. Was there anything else for consent agenda that anyone else wanted to pull? Okay, so then I have a motion for approving the consent agenda for B, C, G, H, I, K, and L.
So moved, Bridget.
If that was all the right letters, then yes, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, you're all set, Ben?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next one up, do we want to take a quick break?
Let's take a break.
Thank you. Let's do a 5-minute break.
Okay.
Chris? Okay,
That's why you're the acting mayor
That's
and I'm
right.
not.
that's right. All right, we are back. We're going to jump into D, which is review bids for siding, window, and foundation repair at City Hall. That is page 67 if you're playing along at home. Okay, so this one, do we have, it looks like we have a couple bids in here, but is this one, do we have someone here to present at all regarding
I know
details?
Therese got the bids.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say about, I don't remember this ever being a council item. Was this just like a Margaret item or something, or? I'm just a little hazy on,
Yes, please.
yeah, or if you don't mind,
We can get the microphone.
just give us sorry, go ahead, Kathy.
So actually, this goes back to November of '24. Andy Sorensen brought to our attention annually, Andy will come and do a roof inspection. So last year, we noticed, while working, a lot of woodpecker noise. So, and as the year progressed, obviously, more and more holes developed. So also in that site visit, if you will, Andy discovered other issues. We have a window over here in the kitchen that's been leaking off and on. Apparently that's been going on for some time. It's not bad, but at some point it will cause some issues. So that was discovered. And then the hope was then to find out how we can fix the woodpecker holes. So the best way to handle that was to obtain estimates from siding contractors. So when the contractors came out, unfortunately, their consensus is that it's really challenging to stop woodpeckers once they start. So with that, we just had the conversation, well, I suppose we should talk about what the cost of siding would be, and then also find a way to temporarily repair the holes. And so what you're seeing in here is just options available to the city should they want to consider that. Obviously, the city can continue to just repair them. So apparently this has been an ongoing problem. I don't know for how long. I've been told that the siding that is currently on the building was to help with that problem maybe 5 years ago. So I don't know that, I don't know the extent of the damage back then. So that's all of the information I have.
Okay.
So what you're looking at here is just basically a variety of different contractor estimates for work to be done. And so we can kind of pick and choose. According to Andy, we would want to repair the woodpecker holes as soon as possible because we'll have potential
Insects, et cetera.
animal infestations that we don't really want to have.
Is the siding wood, Teresa? Do you know?
Pardon me?
Do you know what the siding is? Is it wood?
Yes. My understanding that it is wood. We also have extra siding down in our storage area for repair. The problem is it's on the log,
Historical register, isn't it?
it's on the log side of the building, which we don't have any material to replace that with. So it would have to be hand-filled.
So if I recall from a few years ago, it would have been our 100th anniversary for the city. They were talking about how the city hall was built in a very specific architectural style and is on a historic register. We can't change the siding to stay on that register.
Are we on the historic?
Well, that's what I'm
register?
wondering, because it was something that was brought up at the time, but I don't know that it ended up being on that. But they
didn't.
tried to do historical changes so that the windows are the same style that they were. They have the same, the green above it. It was a big deal at the
Oh,
time.
I know it was.
So my concern is putting hardy siding on it will be
Totally
going
agree.
back to the previous one that they just took the siding off of.
They basically said they wouldn't add it to the historical register because of the siding.
the siding.
Sizing, yeah, and so it didn't, and so,
So now we have
Yeah.
holes, but my assumption is that all of the siding options that we're being given here are for standard horizontal siding, which would not keep the character of the,
Right, I think that was
design.
only 4 years ago that they did this.
that they redid the
really-
whole thing,
They
right?
did the whole thing, so I'm wondering why we're having problems with windows.
Yes, that's.
Why we
also a
weren't
concern.
advised that there might be issues with woodpeckers. I mean, I'm
Well,
just.
that doesn't surprise me because it's wood siding.
Yeah.
Right, but
Woodpeckers
still,
are a Birchwood issue, not a.
right, but still, 4 years old and we're talking about a redo of this building,
Yeah, it
it's
seems,
rather appalling.
yes, I agree with that. So
How extensive is this woodpecker damage?
How extensive? We do have photos. Right now, maybe there's 15 holes, but the woodpeckers continue. Andy Sorensen has offered to do the repair. You know, he can do it immediately. And so, really, these estimates are really just for consideration.
Teresa, are they just in the back or are they all over
They're
the
actually
building?
all over. As you walk in the front door, you can look up and you will see the holes there. They seem to spend most of their time on the east corner or the west corner of the building. So, we've recently, I just purchased an owl. I don't know if that's helping, but trying things.
gonna say-
Maintenance is going to bring
you can
in,
bring by your owls over by your house.
yeah. So,
Well, the windows, I'm very concerned about as far as leaking, because I thought, and I could be completely wrong, but I don't know if we have the records for that, I thought all the windows had been replaced at that point.
Right.
In which case, if it's only been 4 years, all of my windows have 5-year warranties, so I'm curious.
well, in their
How the-
recommendation, based on how it's leaking, it's primarily just the window over the kitchen sink, and it's leaking on the interior side, so they believe if they change the flashing above the window, that potentially will solve the problem.
Okay.
All of them had said that it wasn't necessarily installed properly, but that
Do we know
doesn't mean
who
that there isn't a
installed
fix for it.
Yes, but I'm curious if it was installed by a contractor, 5-year, like, if it was done within that 5-year time frame, it should be under warranty. But I don't know that because none of us were
this
on.
is one of the new windows?
I thought all of them were replaced.
Unfortunately, I don't have that history, so
mean-
we could do
Should
some
have a
research.
record, I would
Okay.
imagine.
We just
of
walk
which
back there and
windows.
look, I mean.
Well, see, they restored them to historical window style, so it wouldn't be like, it's not like you're gonna go and see the Anderson stamp or something like that on it. But as far as like the actual window replacement, I thought it was all of them. So if we can find out when that was done, and if it's still under warranty, that would be a fixing of the contractor who installed the window, but I don't know who did it. So,
And the name is ringing in my head. It'll take me a minute.
but you'll remember?
But I will
You're the
remember.
only one who was here at that time. So,
I think the White Bear Lake Historical Society,
they did a story on it, didn't they?
well, they were involved in consulting on all of this.
I think you're right.
At
And
least
so
on the
maybe-
historical
That's
part.
right.
Right, maybe they could be helpful in telling us more about the context and how important the siding is and anything else we need to know.
So I don't think that City Hall needs hardy siding to prevent the woodpeckers. I think that's just, these two companies being like, hey, we should.
We
could-
sell hardy siding.
We sell hardy siding. I think this sounds more like handyman work. So basically filling the holes with epoxy, repainting it.
I have the same thing in my
Yeah.
house. I fill them up with caulk every couple of years and
Yeah.
move
So-
on with
so-
my life. And if they get really bad someday, maybe I'll replace it, but
Yeah, I think we shouldn't let it get to, 15
No,
big woodpecker holes. So I think we just need to stay on top of it, but I think it's more of just a regular maintenance kind of thing.
that's how I feel about that as well, instead of, I'd like to, if we went through all the effort and money of making this historically, back to its original look, that I'd hate to dispel of that quite so quickly, but I would like to find out if we replaced all the windows at that time to see if we can get our warranty, if it has a warranty for one. It might be a 1 year, wouldn't surprise me at all. But if there is a warranty, that we take advantage of that, to have that repaired.
I will see what I can find.
Does everyone else agree with that, I guess, as far as like reviewing the bids, et cetera? I'd like to potentially have Andy, I think he had $75 per hour to repair.
Yes.
Okay. Was his also potentially the window if needed as well, or is that outside of his?
like Mark Johnson windows.
Alongside of the woodpecker holes, there also is open holes along the foundation, primarily on the west side. And so we need
Open
patching,
holes?
concrete patching.
What size are we talking for these open holes?
Not large, but again, it looks like it's coming in underneath the foundation. And so animals are finding their way to dig in. So what we can do is I can certainly provide photos. You want to look at, we could review it at our next meeting if you want, and we can provide pictures where,
I'm very curious what what material they are in, as well as, like, is it in the concrete? Or like, what's deteriorating for that? I would like some pictures, I think, personally.
okay?
But that's just me. Anyone else have thoughts?
I agree, we just have to sort of plug the holes.
Is there any issue, Alan, with Andy on the planning commission doing some work for us? There's no conflict of interest if we have him do some work.
If
It'd
it's
be-
handyman work, I mean, obviously, it'd be nice if there were some bids.
I think it would be
compete with
good.
Whatever he's
uh,
charging, but
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, $75 an hour seems like market rate.
Is there any,
probably easily.
I know we had, just as another option, Ron Kernley, is that his name? Let's call him Ron.
On our maintenance crew?
On our maintenance crew, he's done some pretty nice work for us. Is this something he might do for us?
I think the challenge will be who has the ladders.
The ladders?
Yes,
Yeah,
because
okay.
damage he'll have to repair along the north side of the building too. So I don't know, maybe he does, we can certainly ask.
Yeah,
I would
do
like to make
think-
sure it's done in a way that it is actually fixed and not a Band-Aid. If we can do that for the, like, holes in the foundation would
I
be
mean,
something like that.
I don't mind if somebody wants to authorize Andy for a few $100 worth of work, but I agree with Alan that more than that, we probably ought to be.
I would say if it's
quote.
under $1,000, I mean, it's get someone that's gonna be able to be here and do it and get it done. So, I mean, it's
No.
just small enough ball that, I mean, it's gonna take you a lot of time and effort.
Well, that's the
for someone to
problem
even wanna
with
give you an
getting
estimate for
quote
such a
after
small
quote,
job.
is it takes a lot of work to get quotes, so I'm
Well, it does look
fine
like he
with it
has
either
on
way,
here
but-
his $75 per hour at the woodpecker, damage repair, window repair, and cement repair. I would agree if we do under the $1,000, that would be several hours of work. I can't imagine 15 holes would take a long time.
Well, we can figure out the hours per hole.
Yep.
Maybe we could, maybe what's his per hole rate?
I mean, honestly, from having experience like patching my own house and doing little concrete work, like you're not gonna get anybody coming in here that's gonna give you a realistic bid.
And he's at least a contractor, so I know that he should know what he's doing.
insured. Like, so-
So if he spends a whole day, you know, he spent $1,000 and fixed
Yeah.
all your problems, that's a pretty good deal.
I agree.
So I would make a motion to have Andy make the repairs up to $1,000 max, or to authorize.
Are we talking, well, hold
At
on,
the
are we talking
$75 per
just
hour.
labor, or are we talking materials?
It looks like he had said $75 per hour.
Now, everything
Plus
is based
materials.
on.
I'm
time
willing
and
to
materials.
donate it, or wait, no, do minimal for material repairs to the building. So
So it's just,
I'm going at
Is that
$75 per hour for whatever that rate is to fix it. If it ends up where the materials ends up being a lot more, I would like that coming back to us.
Can't imagine that'd be much in materials.
I wouldn't think so either, because it's filling holes with probably
Bunch
epoxy
of
is what I would do for wood.
$100.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that's my motion.
Second, Ryan?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we got that one. Then we have radon mitigation in lower level, which is page
I can-
73.
Do you want to do this? I'll just do this one, Therese, unless you
Okay.
want to do it quick. Therese did a great job of getting a couple bids for radon mitigation. It looks like it's $2,000 to $3,000 to start with, and they may have to do a second round of mitigation if possible. The radon levels there are high enough, and when we have staff working down there, it's worth just a couple, $3,000 to make it a safe building.
Absolutely.
So Resolution 2025-27 does that, and so with that, I move to adopt Resolution 2025-27, a resolution authorizing staff to commit for radon mitigation. Birchwood Village Hall should be an add in there, but it's not that important.
Up to 3,000, correct?
Up to 3,000, yeah.
We could utilize one of the holes that's already there.
No.
That would be amazing.
That would save a
Um,
fortune.
Do
Yeah.
you have a preference on the contractor selected?
Cheaper,
Okay.
unless you have a preference.
I thought they were both qualified and had all the right credentials.
So I was gonna just leave it to you to make the decision, but I guess if you ask me, cheaper.
Well, I'd say if the resolution says up to $3,000, staff can use their discretion on.
Yeah, I
Contractor.
mean, I don't
Honestly,
know,
they went
unless you
very
have a good
close.
reason to go with the more expensive one, I would go with the cheaper one, so.
The less expensive contractor was available on the 19th of this month. Do we want to move that quickly?
Yes, please.
Sounds good to me.
yes.
All right. Okay. Super, thank you.
I made
Okay.
I made a motion.
You made a
Kathy.
motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Therese, for your effort on that, so.
Okay. Then we have some discussion points, which I'm gonna see if I can get Therese out of here soonish. Do we need Therese for the Birchwood communication, water drainage we've already talked about, review survey results for what the city looks like for city administrator? You want to be here for that, Therese?
I'll stay. I'm happy to stay.
You're okay, all right, well then we'll just go through in order.
No, you don't need to change order.
Okay. All right.
So I
Don't
can
be
speak-
angry when it takes a long time.
I can speak to the Birchwood communication strategy, which is simply a draft. And I submitted it so that all of you would have time and the community would have time to take a look at it, kind of play around with it, put your thoughts into it, your edits, and then it can be a more fruitful conversation on our meeting on March 31st. But it's really about looking at all the various ways we can communicate, and I think all of us, when we ran, said we wanted to up our communications. So this is a first start to say, okay, this is what it could look like.
Okay.
I like it, but I think I'll save most of my comments for the workshop.
Yeah, that's what I thought, is we can all, you know,
Yeah,
we've
that's
seen
great.
it, maybe the community
It's a nice document,
Well-
so.
have input, and then we can nail it down a little bit more at the 31st meeting.
All right. Let's see. I believe that the survey also applied to that, correct?
It did,
Okay.
yes.
So we'll review all of that on the 31st then.
Yes, but, you know, just a couple of words about the survey, which is one, we had 104 people
Good.
respond to it, which isn't too bad.
No, it's about a third of the houses,
Yeah,
assuming that it's not
right,
multiple
assuming that it wasn't couples.
Mhm.
And then most respondents feel the city has been somewhat responsive to residents' concerns, so we've got some opportunity. 39% prefer maintaining the current administrator's hours. They talked about the key priorities for the role, and then we incorporated that into the posting or the letter we sent about the open position. 51% of respondents were satisfied with current city communications, so we've got more upside there. And then we've got 38 comments from people that I think are worth looking through one by one, because they point out opportunities, perceptions, et cetera, that I think will be helpful for all of us to know. So again, spend some time with it, and we can talk more about it on the 31st.
Yeah. Part of that does kind of pull into H as well, so, because that, we've skipped over G, as we already discussed water drainage, if we want to jump into looking for a city administrator. I feel like part of that does apply to this survey as well, which
Yeah,
I completely agree. Someone had made the comment regarding if the city administrator is doing all of these things and then also in charge of updating the website, that is a lot.
it's a lot.
And our website definitely has some grandiose plans, but maybe it's almost more than necessary for some of the areas. I would like to point out that the formatting for our website, when you go into various areas in the city and it has the expansion, it goes off the page because of all the different things to go on, so you can't actually get into some of the items because they're off the page, as far as the expanding lists. So it might make sense to do a remap of the website as far as what's actually showing on that one.
Yep.
Because we do have a lot under this one role.
Agree.
I think that was, is there anything else in this packet regarding what the city is looking for in the administrator? I think it was just the survey
No,
responses.
it's just
Just
a survey.
a thank you to Bridget, and you got more responses than I thought you would. So,
Yeah, I was happy to see all the responses. I
Yeah.
actually was surprised that we hear a lot about the communication issues, but it looks like most people are actually okay with that, and most people are okay with our current office hours, but I know that was something we
Yeah,
were
that was,
looking at as
right,
well.
nobody's terribly unhappy,
No, which is
Um,
good,
which is good, but I think we've got some opportunity.
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to go make this into another variance, but, my issue always with the office hours, we had a lot of staff, and I think if we have a few less staff and are running slightly leaner, I think residents will be kind of understanding of the balance there, so.
Okay.
Not a few less, but a few less hours, so.
Yeah. Well, I find office hours are also when you're permitting people to come in, and
And
it's somewhat of an interruption to your day too. So as far as like, I
Yep.
don't want it to be as long as the staff is there, feel free to come in and divert all attention, because that will be all day, every day. If you give the people the opportunity to do that, not that people can't bring up information when it's, like, I like the appointment idea, as far as here's normal office hours and then appointment for anything else,
I think it would be really good to talk about
you know.
just some modern ways of managing customer service, so.
Yeah. So, is there anything else we needed to discuss about what we're looking for in a city administrator? I know we already had posted that.
No, we posted it, we used the information from the survey, so that was good.
Okay. Anything from you, Ryan, or Ryan? Okay.
No.
All right,
Not
so can we move on to consent agenda questions? Good to move? Yes?
Yep.
Okay. The first one I had, Therese, can I have you see if you can potentially answer my question on this? Sorry. In the treasury report, I was looking at that, and the list of checks that we have for claim history, which, I can find a page, hold on. We have some reimbursements for dog licenses in here, one of which is actually Bridget. So I was trying to find out what happened there, because it looks like they paid 45, and then we have dog licenses down below that are a different price for payments.
Did the dogs demand their money back?
I don't know, but I wanted to find out why we're paying back 45. Okay.
Actually, what happened, I think the application itself, or the license application, the verbiage explaining the fees by term, first, second, third year,
Yeah.
was misunderstood.
Oh,
And so they overpaid.
so I
so-
paid for 3 years.
You did.
Right,
Yes,
okay, 'cause
yes.
that's
And you
what it
weren't
sounded
alone,
Oh, good.
Bridget. There were, so as
Oh.
we caught them,
I see.
yes, so that's all you're seeing is.
So it's based on a
it's an
calendar year, not
overpayment.
based on how long you've been here. So it's not like you're buying a license and yours extends for 3 years. It's based on the
No,
calendar.
it was like,
I see.
sounded like you could buy a license that would go for 3 years, like you could pay for your 3 years.
Yes,
You
and
could only pay for one.
yes, so you were not alone.
You did,
We might want to reconsider how we,
$30 is the price
Define
for
that.
3 years.
No, it's 15 per year.
For a dog license?
no,
Oh,
it's $30 for the entire term,
for the 3 years.
yes, for the 3-year term.
So we're reimbursing a $45 check. What happened?
They paid 75,
Oh,
yeah.
overachiever.
Yes, but you weren't alone. Others interpreted it that way, too. They also paid the same amount. So
Okay.
you're not alone.
We
There was
should do a
something
reword on that one slightly.
on the form
Okay.
that was, okay.
Next term for sure.
Okay, so that was one that just caught my eye, is like, what is going on there? We're giving people $45 back for a reimbursement for dog licenses. I assumed that their dogs were upset or something, so. Okay, so that was my only aspect of the treasure report that I had a concern about. Was there anyone else who had anything they pulled out of that?
I just have a couple questions. On the bottom of page 98 in the agenda, the Capr's Utilities for $18,000, that's filed under escrow refunds?
Oh, good point.
Oh, that's a mistake.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it might just be worth going through these, because I thought I don't have it handy right now. I thought I saw another one that didn't seem like it was coded right. The other one I saw was Ben's city planner rate is $1,600 a month. And I saw one in here to him for planning services, February, $1,500 a month. So I think he might be. Yeah, so I think we might need to fix that for him.
Nothing, so yes, so we owe you another $100.
Yeah, I think there were one or two things that would probably be good to look through the codings on these. That one, 18 grand,
Yeah, the water main break one.
might show up pretty significantly in the wrong budget. That's all I got,
Okay.
so.
We still have Marcia helping with treasury, right?
So, back to capital.
Yes?
Okay.
Yeah, I
So
guess.
that came up as an escrow reimbursement?
Yep,
Yeah, so in column
I think it's,
account name, it says escrow refunds from Capra Utilities, which was water main break work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So yeah, the escrow would be strange for that.
that was definitely coded wrong,
Okay.
yeah.
and I thought I saw another one in here, but I don't think, if it's a few bucks, it's not gonna break a budget, but
Well, we do have electricity under the water utility
maybe that's,
as
that,
well.
I think that's the one I saw. I think I saw one under like water or sewer. That sounds like one where there was
We
a,
also have gas service underwater, but that could be actual, like, it's both to Excel under water
the
utility.
lift station probably should be under sewer.
That one for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Those have probably been like that for a while
Okay.
then. So those would need to be looked at and corrected.
Oh, and this 1,500 of Ben, that's the one that bothered me, that I noticed too, was that's also under sewer engineering expense. It was just, that's all, it just looks like a couple of typos or something.
Coding issues.
Yes, that makes me want to review them.
All right, so can we, how do we do the approval for the,
I would just approve it and then ask that
with
those be.
changes to the
Yes,
Says that
coding?
all there is
Yes, we'll review those.
Okay.
Um,
I don't see
what
any-
doesn't, the reason it doesn't make sense is that entries just default back to the prior. And so I just want to verify that codes are correct. So I will make sure that we do that.
Okay. And I know you guys went through that whole coding thing
We did, and
last
they,
year, so we probably need to make sure it still matches up with whatever that was.
you are very right. They eliminated a number of accounts.
Okay. Okay, so with the changes to some coding, and then looking at Ben's 1,500, I don't remember which page that was on. I saw the 1,600 at least once here, so.
It's on page 6,
6 of 10.
or versus 103 in the agenda as a whole,
Okay. And that was that 1,500.
kind of in the middle
Yeah.
of the
Well,
page.
that's John Wickstrom.
That's Ben.
Okay. All right, so then $1,500 for sewer engineering expenses is what that one's coded as, but that's planning services February is what's listed there.
I would just approve all the payments and, because that's what you're really approving, and
Mhm.
then
Yep.
just
Coding is
we'll
separate,
just
but you've noted them.
circle
Yeah.
back, yeah.
No, and I'm happy to review those codes and get back to you.
I don't know, unless, I don't need to be gotten back to, but
Okay?
maybe you do,
Just
Kathy, I don't
update.
know, just fix,
It's all good.
we trust you.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I move to approve the February treasurer's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so treasurer's report is done. Next one was D, which is Empower Parks with Dock Fee Authority. That's page 139, I think.
Whose resolution is that, by the
That's
way?
mine.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the resolution's on 140.
Yes, so there's the, it starts on 139 with a little
Yeah.
blurb and then,
Yeah, we're still working out some of the agenda issues.
Yep.
So,
but I wanted to pull this one because the name makes it sound like we're giving the Parks Committee full use of those funds. And I wanted to bring this up so that it was in record and all that wonderful things, so we could discuss a little bit. Allowing the Parks Committee more access to a budget to use for revenue projects related to the special revenue fund, to plan budgets throughout the year so that they're not scurrying to try and get something done before snow flies and we don't get it approved yet, kind of thing, so.
and the way I read this was that it was just authorizing the Parks Committee to create a budget.
it's authorizing the Parks Committee to create a plan.
Yep,
What do we want to do for parks for the
Yep.
coming year, which then council would approve.
yep,
And then giving them the money from docks, which I understand goes to parks.
yep.
Special revenue fund.
So they would put together a plan that would cost what the revenue is from docks. And my understanding is that this has been a sensitive issue for many years, that docks don't understand where
Yep.
their fees are going. So I thought from a transparency standpoint, this would be a really good thing for this council to do. I mean, 2 council people are on the Parks Committee, and I think it would be more empowering to them, and then docs would know where the money was going, so that's the logic behind it.
I think Kathy's concern is just that the council maintain the, kind of the final say on payments.
Yeah, and I'm on the Parks Committee as a liaison as well, so
Yeah.
I'm okay with this. I just wanted to make sure it was brought forward because depending on how you read it, it does look like we potentially let go of purse strings, but that's not the way I was envisioning it
No, because
either.
they would have to
Get it
present the
approved.
plan to the council. We would approve it, but then they don't, you know, I remember being on Parks years ago, you always felt like you were being sort of jacked around, like, yeah, we think we have this money, maybe we do, maybe we don't.
Welcome to Birchwood.
Right, but, you
No,
know,
I
and we
think
would
that's
have
good.
the oversight, because Kathy and I sit
Yeah.
as advisors, and then the council would have to approve the plan. So, anyway.
But it would, one of the things that they had brought up was as far as like the netting that we want to add to the hockey rink and some of those items, that it's underneath that budget amount. If they're planning on doing that, they can plan on these things, but they also want to make sure that those funds are reserved for them, which I understand. So we have 10,000 right now that is in the special revenue fund that has already been earmarked as the match for the grant that we have. So the money that they have left is the money that they would be planning with. And then the Dock Association should have funds coming into that special revenue fund coming up this upcoming year that the Parks Committee would like to designate portions of that towards either a bigger project or some of the things that need to be maintained or fixed, such as, I know they wanted to look at doing the nets for the tennis court, which are getting old. There was mention of hockey nets, potentially other smaller projects that might not necessarily need to come to the council every single time.
Right, right, and if there could be a plan that says this is what we're going to spend the money on for the rest of the year, and then they can talk to the dock people and say, this is where your money's being spent, and maybe the dock people would have some ideas about, well, did you think of this or that or another thing? I just think good things would happen.
So that's why I wanted to discuss this one, because I
Do you-
want to make sure it's clear that the Parks Committee will not be taking all of the money. It's just,
And just if I may, a point about the sort of the mechanics of it or the housekeeping of it. If you look at the resolution, you're not resolving to do anything. So I
It
think,
was my first
I
resolution.
think we need to massage it a little bit so that the now therefore, here's what we're gonna do, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
So if there's no urgency, we can table it, bring it back with that part filled in.
Perfect,
So I think because right now, it's like you've got all these nice whereases, we need to do these things,
yeah,
right? So now we're gonna do these things.
okay,
So you and I can work together, I'll be happy to fill in whatever.
thank you.
So it's a little uncooked at this point for purposes of voting
Pretty
on.
good for a first try, so.
It's a hell of an effort, yeah.
I just would have passed it.
So we got an idea why you want it, but we need to tell everyone what we're doing.
Okay.
Are you able to help with that a little bit, Alan? if
Absolutely,
Budget needs it? Yeah.
If I had to document instead of a PDF, I'd try to do it on the fly, but if there's no urgency, we can just take care of it next
Okay,
month.
that sounds great, thank
Okay.
you.
and as far as I'm aware, the only thing the Parks has on the money table at this point is that 10,000 that we've committed
Earmarked
already from the
already.
city council. So they still owe us a couple pricing and various info for projects that they're looking to do this spring, so.
And I didn't get a chance to jump on this. We were waiting for other things for the agenda, so I didn't see it until
That's all
very
right.
close in time to the meeting, but
Okay. All right, so we're gonna table that one for now. We're good with
We'll
that?
bring it back.
Okay, and we'll bring that back next month? Good, okay,
Sounds good.
perfect. Okay. Next one is city credit card implementation, which is 141.
I don't know if you want to talk about it, you can. I talked to Jen a little bit about this. And I think we need to get some policy behind it, and maybe I think we should probably table it for now.
Yeah, so mine was similar, where I was a little concerned about having, well, one, I was thinking that our treasurer should be in charge of getting any credit card that we potentially have. But then as far as what actually constitutes city purchases would need to be put into some sort of document.
So the state auditor has some guidelines on what we need to do here.
Oh, okay.
And I'm gonna throw together a policy. But would you mind, Kathy, if we just asked if people are generally in favor of the city getting a credit
Community
card?
credit card.
Okay,
I would agree as well, because I'm not a fan of doing reimbursements for personal cards.
agreed.
I
Yeah.
want the statement and the receipt to go with the item, so
I'm
I'm all
gonna,
for it, but as far as like
let's,
some rules.
yeah, I'm gonna just work with Jen a little bit and get
Okay.
this,
You should have a
refined and
policy.
nailed down. And I have a policy. I have like more pages than have ever been probably this. I have several pages. We'll do it next round, so.
All right, so then that would table for now the,
Resolution 19, yeah.
yes, 2025-19, so we're tabling that one for now too. Okay. Next one we have is additional office equipment needed, that's 143,
Yep. Resolution 20.
yes.
And let's not forget to we need to not forget to approve the rest of the consent agenda before this.
Oh, we
thing's
did
over,
approve
too.
the B, C,
already done.
G, H,
Oh, we
I,
did,
K, and
okay,
L.
all right,
Yes.
yeah, that's right.
We did all
The
those. We're just
lettery
going through
thing.
the left. The alphabet that we had before. Okay, so this one I had pulled. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to say about it before I chat about this
Yeah,
one?
why a desktop computer?
I'm sorry. This is the
Office equipment.
office
Office
equipment
equipment.
where it's desktop computer, 2 large monitors, adjustable desk, and 2-drawer filing cabinet.
I mean, yeah, why a desktop computer, I guess, and not a laptop?
Oh, sure. So not too long ago, maybe a year and a half ago, new laptops were purchased. I think the idea behind that purchase was to create a mobile office. I think we're learning that isn't, I think hybrid is a better way maybe to manage our work. And so currently we have 2 desktops that are set up with laptops as our stable. If we want to be a stable desktop, they are what's operating our computers and monitors. Or the laptop is our computer running our monitors. If we want to provide a laptop to our employees, we also need a desktop computer then for at least one of the stations to replace the prior city administrator position. So that's why this request was placed here.
Why
What
can't,
happened to Becky's computer?
It's here, but it's a laptop only.
Okay, so for my own office, I have a laptop that I plug into a hub, and it allows me to use that as my actual desktop computer. You plug it in, you have all your monitors, your keyboard, your mouse, everything is involved. It's
Sure.
actually a much larger storage than a desktop computer typically are, and if I do need to work from home or travel for whatever reason, I travel a lot personally,
Sure.
my entire computer comes with me. So as far as, we still have Becky's computer, I feel like we just approved in the last 2 years, 3 or 4 different computers. So we have more computers than we have people.
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out why.
Well, it accommodates a few things.
Okay.
One is, it gives us an opportunity to have an extra workstation for people to work on. So that was
People visiting or,
extra support. So one thing that I did do in the interim here is I am asking for a lot of volunteer help. So we've established a city support desktop, so others can come in and actually help us create documents if necessary. They can send information to various places if we need extra help. It's actually been very beneficial.
okay.
The station works very well. There's nothing wrong with the way it's working, but it just offers flexibility. And, you know, our hierarchy and our makeup of office staff works really, really well, except when someone's on a vacation or if someone's sick. So it does sometimes cause challenges to get work done. And so it just, the primary reason is to offer flexibility in a whole variety of ways, you know, to, maybe we're all mobile for some reason. Maybe we're all working from home, or, I mean, because we're so tight-staffed, it offers a lot of solutions.
Okay. I'm thinking a hub would make more sense with laptops for everybody because you don't have to take the laptop with you. It can stay as just as the computer itself.
Sure. We're absolutely open to ideas. It's just trying to set it up so we can perform better, more efficiently. It's, unfortunately, the desktop that I work at, the laptop there, would not be functional for me to take home. I'm not kidding. It has every port filled with a cord. It is terribly impractical for me to take it down and bring home.
So it sounds like we need a hub,
Yeah, a docking
a
station.
docking station. So you
Docking
have all of the cords hooked up to one and you have the power cord that goes from the dock to your laptop, one cord. Plug it
So
in.
can we do, before we do a resolution for any sort of technology, can we do like a, there's a docking station.
Yeah, that is a docking station.
This is something that you would use, everything gets plugged in, including the internet, and all you gotta do is plug it in, and everything works.
And I have one, and I am full.
Wow.
Really?
So I would welcome a site visit.
Yeah, do a technology review and see what our needs are and see what we can do. But yeah, like, you should have 2 big monitors, you should have an adjustable desk, I agree. Filing cabinet, great. Just the desktop versus laptop and kind of what our current technology needs are, I wanna
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, open to whatever.
Yeah.
We're just looking for improvement.
Yeah. But I would anticipate that so we still have Becky's laptop is back. Then we had another laptop that we have for Therese. You have one. And then there was another one, I believe. Didn't we do 4
No, we did two laptops.
in the last 2 years?
Correct. Oh, I think they provided a laptop for the treasurer.
Yes. So I think we've done, I thought it was 4 though. In which case we have an extra laptop somewhere.
I doubt it.
Not that I'm
Did
aware
they
of.
maybe
There's
just
desktop
replace
and 3
one that was?
laptops.
Yeah, my understanding, just 2, and
Oh,
then
so we had a
just
desktop
very
as well.
recently,
Okay.
we purchased the one for the treasurer so she
Is-
could be mobile.
Is part of the concern here that the laptop became unavailable when the city administrator
Yes,
took some leave? Okay.
yes. Yes, and then that station became unusable.
I will say this, I guess, I don't mind doing a technology review, and I think that would be good to do. I do really want to say, I think we often run very lean in the office on supplies, and I appreciate it when you come in and say, this is what I need, because it will make me more efficient in my job, and I just want to say, please keep doing that, because you know, sometimes we're saving $100 on this or $500 on that and spending 20 or 30 or 100 hours a year to recoup those expenses. So, like, let's do our oversight, but let's also just make sure that, like, staff have what they need to to be efficient, so.
I welcome that. I welcome a visit by all of you, so you can see that might be helpful.
So, do you have something,
Just
Chris?
for the record, one of the laptops that I think got replaced is now designated in my AV area.
There's the fourth one. I knew there was a fourth one.
And that's probably where that fourth one came from.
Okay, all right.
Just so you guys know.
All right, so
So
that's the
We should
AV.
probably have an official inventory as well.
I feel like that might be something we want to do then.
So, all right, let's have a scavenger hunt between meetings.
So who's gonna, sort of partner with Reese and figure out what the office needs?
Are you gonna be in on Thursday, Therese?
Pardon me?
Are you gonna be in on Thursday? Is
I
Thursday?
will, yes.
Okay, I'll come up in.
That would be great.
Do we want to, do we want to adopt this resolution, but just say that,
No, I think we wait till we do
Table.
some sort of review and then, we table this and then we can.
but there were some other office supplies, like a filing cabinet in there
Yeah,
too,
there's
right?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Drawer
yeah.
filing cabinet and an adjustable desk and 2 large monitors. I'm assuming we're replacing monitors that exist, or are we? Okay.
Replacing monitors that exist, but are very small.
I mean, just,
This is the tech review, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so that part, do we want to talk about the adjustable desk and 2-drawer filing cabinet then, to pass that portion, or do you want to just hold off
Let's-
until after we review all things?
well,
Well,
you
let me
can,
share why we need the file cabinets.
Well, I think that one is the one that I'm like, if we don't have one, we should have one.
Well, we are full. We are
Okay.
full with permits. So, so our goal, and we've talked about this, is to revamp how they're organized. But we will run out of space soon. Now, it's possible a lot of things can be tossed.
I was gonna say, what's our record management schedule?
Is it
Like how?
7 years?
God, don't ask.
I think the hope is to
Believe me, if you
explore
want to
that.
spend some time with, that's not a question you want to ask.
Well, I just asked it.
Because the answer is like, there's lengthy document retention
Is there?
documents
Okay.
for the state that have to follow. You don't want to know.
And they have to be kept in paper form, they can't be digitized?
I think things can be digitized, but it doesn't,
Someone has to do it.
but somebody has to code everything based on what type of document it is and figure out how, exactly what time to delete it. You don't want to know. Like, you'll have nightmares.
So I don't think we need to fix the back office. I mean, Teresa knows what she wants, and
Yep.
Brian's gonna do the tech, and then we're gonna,
Yeah, if you guys want sit-stand desks and more filing cabinets, I mean, just say how many, I guess.
Well, I would move to authorize but not require staff to purchase an adjustable desk and a 2-drawer filing cabinet.
Do you only need one adjustable desk?
Really, the goal there is the treasurer area, the back room, that's really not that desk really doesn't accommodate things very well. Now, do we occupy that office that often? No, but when we do, it could be reorganized, and I think we could even shift a lot of the countertop that we have, that we probably can just reuse that. I think things, if they're just moved around,
So,
space might work.
a maximum of 3 people working at one time, possibly? Is that?
Yes, yeah,
And then-
and especially if we're gonna increase office hours,
Yep.
we will have a full house, potentially.
But with the 3 people working, would each individual want their own adjustable desk?
It would be nice.
So I would.
How much are adjustable?
I'll withdraw my motion.
How much?
$150.
Okay.
Yeah, you can buy them used.
Yeah.
Well, sure, but I mean, as far as like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, are we talking thousands? Are we talking
no.
hundreds?
No, I actually
For a
shopped.
few $100.
I did actually shop.
Oh, did you?
I did. And if we want to look at used office furniture, they're not terrible. You can find crank-ups that are inexpensive, that aren't bad. And when I say inexpensive, $200. So, again,
Yeah.
nothing's critical. And we could shift things around and make the space work better. But that back office, that desk probably really is.
Yeah, I think that if there's gonna be 3 people there, I don't think there's a reason that we shouldn't have adjustable desks for everybody, just for pure comfort. for the staff?
I'm fine with the adjustable desks if they're like 200-ish, for 3 people potentially, depending on what the person wants, because I don't want to throw an adjustable desk on anyone if they're like, all I want to do is sit.
Right, right.
So,
Well, here's what I found. So I did find an actual adjustable desk that we can get for $200. File cabinets are minimal. And then we could just shift some things around in there, and it would just be mainly a maintenance expense to move things around. What we don't have more space for, but I think if we shifted some files and things around, it's the permits that we are overflowing on. And obviously, we have to think about future and being able to expand.
do we have a scanner where we could actually start?
We have to think
Coding.
about, have to seriously think about not having paper documents much anymore, like, but I don't wanna,
And we have that ability now to go paperless with our current permit system.
So
I
it's
guess-
just the backlog that you're worried about?
Yes.
I feel like I'm fine authorizing something here, I guess. I don't know what you guys think. Or if you wanna do a review, if this
Well,
is all wait a month,
so-
I'm fine with whatever, I guess.
Here's
I
what I
just
asked.
wanna,
So, like, I'm okay with I want to do a review of the technology before we do anything. If we can strike the desktop computer, I guess just the desktop computer. I'm okay with the monitors as well. But the understanding is like, we might have to come back and get more adjustable desks. So like, we'll get this one, because the resolution's in front of us, but
And then
we
the
might get a
filing
couple
cabinet. Okay,
Yeah,
so then we
filing cabinet.
potentially would have, because the thing that makes me hesitant here as far as just passing it immediately is there's no dollar amount involved as far as what this actually would cost, and,
Actually, we did get a quote, so I can
Is
give
it
you
in
those
here?
dollar amounts. Yes, Techie,
it's,
right, but I can share with you what we were
Okay.
provided with by Techie Dudes. And that was, the desktop computer was just under $100,000. The adjustable desk was $300. And then the file cabinet might be $25 to $50. And so if we can find that we can reconfigure our hardware, the expense should be minimal.
what would it take to be able to play Fortnite?
So
you're winning a
again,
gaming computer. So that included the monitors, right, for the desktop?
oh, I
monitors?
forgot about the monitors. Monitors aren't, I don't believe they're expensive.
we cover $100 a piece. But,
So-
I mean, honestly, in today's
The
environment,
desktop seems expensive for how much,
I don't think we should get a desktop.
And I don't think we should be deciding how we manage the back office.
Agreed, yeah.
That's not our job. And, Teresa, what I hope you're hearing from us is we really want to support getting you what you need. And, so I just think the next step is for Ryan to,
well, generally, I would like to approve something, but I don't want to approve anything with a blanket, I don't know, a dollar amount, which is why I'm bringing it up, so.
$800 to
To-
as many things off that list as she can,
Okay.
except for the desktop.
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
Are we
great.
good with that?
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
And there's nothing critical. The only thing that I think is important would be making sure that that city administrator desk is where we need it to be for a new
Yeah.
person.
No, absolutely.
And then I'd really like the monitors.
Okay,
And beyond that, we can make everything else work.
excellent. So you were thinking 800-ish,
What I threw out there.
just what you threw out, okay. But would that be enough for the monitors and the adjustable desk and then filing cabinet? That should be
Yes.
plenty, right?
Yep, that should be,
Okay.
I'm guessing $200 for each monitor, $400, $300 for sit-stand desk, puts us at $700 for a filing cabinet.
I'll take her to Costco and we'll get monitors for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Okay,
Takes much effort. I even have a stand-up, I have an adjustable desk that I'm willing to donate to the city if we can't find one affordable.
fabulous.
There we go.
Seriously.
All right, so I would make a motion to pass Resolution 2025-20, authorizing the city to purchase 2 large monitors, adjustable desk, and 2-drawer filing cabinet up to $800. And then potentially, if there's enough left over, which maybe, for a look at the computers to see what options we'd have and come back for more for that.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna go no nays, since everyone was an aye on that, but were there any nays? No? Okay. Okay, then that gets us down to our last one, which is Ty Schmidt rental agreement, which is J, and starts on page 154.
I just had one comment on that, which is we were gonna take the fall,
Yeah, the date,
reference to fall
Mhm.
off.
yes. I believe, Ryan, you're the one who wanted that one pulled. Do you have something specific?
I just want to abstain because I
Oh,
know it's funny, but we benefit from this basically, so I just want to abstain, so that's all. I know it's funny.
pulled it
It's
to
like it is.
oh,
I'll come and address it as a resident if you want, but yeah, he's very proud of himself, by the way.
he did such a good job. Okay, so you were just wanting to abstain because the consent agenda, you didn't want to have an aye for that, okay. All right, I agree with you as far as, like I was saying, it was missing dates for the fall. I'm okay with the fall dates, depending on when that is, based on, we have some work planned for the park for drainage. I don't want to guarantee that that won't overlap with whatever fall date is, because we were planning on having that work start after they're done with the,
What would be on them? So
So-
we're gonna have to work around the city. They're not
Okay.
gonna define it.
I just would take fall out, unless we're assuming this contract applies to fall.
well, they wrote it, so that's why I'm curious as to when those dates are. Because we also have, like rental fees, it says due date, and it's in brackets, meaning that there was a date supposed to be put in there and that's not in there. So there was a few areas that I'd like added to it before we officially sign it, as far as the specifications for when those dates are and that we've actually set that up. Because right now it's never ending, so that was my concern with that one.
Perpetual.
Yes,
Anyway, if you wanna strike fall and let them come back if they need time, cause I mean, they've defined the term as May through July already, so.
okay. Well, I'm okay with that, are you?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
do you want to make a
So
motion?
it just govern the 2025 season, right? That's what you're approving.
Yeah,
You want
May,
it open for every year thereafter.
oh, yes, that is correct. It would only be for 2025 season.
Okay.
Right.
And I would recommend that, as opposed to just rolling forward without being able to review it.
Okay. Yeah, I would anticipate we would want to re-up every year, depending on activity. and- Okay.
I mean, if it's the same thing, we can put it on consent when they come back for 26.
Yeah.
We'll see how that first year goes.
And I'm okay with them coming back with fall dates, but I want to know when it is, so. So I guess do we want a motion on this one? It looks like they're actually looking for one. Did you want a motion?
So move that, so we strike the reference to any fall, we make it for the 2025 season, and then approve as is.
Okay,
Second.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
All right.
You
And
guys think
pass.
it's pretty funny, don't you?
No, totally fine.
Trying to be ethical, man. I get laughed at.
It's that your son was the one who proposed it, I think is the part that's funny. But no, that's great. And I did notice that they took out the portion about the city additional insurance, so I wanted to point that out too.
Their laughing is supportive.
We're laughing with you, you just don't know it. Okay, that was our last item. No? What am I missing? Oh, yes. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Do we have stuff we
Thank
need
you.
to sign here?